This is about the ships that we rely on. The ones with a job to do. The heroes of the ocean.
What we're interested in is these ships that keep the world working.
We've selected 5 world beaters for scrutiny. The Vale Brazil, the biggest bulk carrier ever built. The Lewitt Connector, a vast floating high-tech construction site. The MT Mastera, an oil tanker that thinks it's an icebreaker. And the Eskvact Aurora, a state-of-the-art rescue ship. Finally, the Ocean Black Hawk, the new drilling vessel designed to go ultra deep. 5 ships, 5 extraordinary feats of engineering. Now, 5 tests to tell us which is the ultimate.
We're so reliant on these great big ships.
Our first category is length. Which of our 5 massive ships is longest? Bobbing into 5th place, the safety vessel Eskvact Aurora. Whatever the weather, it goes to the aid of other vessels, oil platforms, or crew members in distress. And only the rest of the ships on this list could make it seem small. It's 87 meters long.
It's got room for a rescue vessel inside, it's got a helipad, and it's still longer than a 747.
Working its way into 4th, but leaving a trail of cable that stretches beyond the horizon, it's the Lewitt Connector, 157 meters long.
Consider the whole operation. Behind it is kilometers and kilometers of cable.
Going still bigger, the Ocean Black Hawk ultra-deep water drill ship. It's as tall as a 15-story building, and it's over 230 meters long.
It can reach down 3 kilometers to the seabed, but then drill through 8 kilometers of rock.
Next, the incredible MT Mastera, 250 meters of tanker built to operate all year round in the icy Baltic Sea.
There are bigger oil tankers, but none of them can do what this particular oil tanker can do.
But at number 1 in the length ratings, measuring an incredible 360 meters bow to stern, the largest bulk carrier in the world. It's the Vale Brazil.
It can carry enough iron ore to make the Golden Gate Bridge 3 times over.
The dockside of Ponta de Madeira, Brazil. Waiting for collection, 400,000 tons of iron ore, destined for the steel foundries of Asia. And just offshore, inbound, the Vale Brazil. One of only 25 ships in the world that can move this amount of iron in one go.
Small lead to starboard.
On its bridge, Captain Somnath Ghosh. He's been a sailor for over 30 years, and he's going to need every ounce of experience to mastermind a complex, high-pressure operation.
Being a captain of Vale Brazil is not an easy job. It's a huge task because the size of the ship. It takes many years of experience as a captain.
After 70 days at sea, he has just 72 hours to take the Vale Brazil into port, fill its empty cargo holds with iron ore, and weigh anchor once more for Asia. Even for a man of his skills, the maneuver they are about to attempt is a nerve-wracking one.
The biggest worry of this size of the ship is the first is the momentum of the ship. The next is the turning ability of the ship. It takes a lot of space.
The Vale's deck alone is the length of 3 soccer pitches. She weighs over 46,000 tons, even when empty. And Captain Somnath has to park her. Only 10 ports in the world are large enough to accommodate her colossal size. Ponta de Madeira is one of them, but it's also one of the most challenging.
Ponta de Madeira is a very high tidal port, and it's got a very strong current. It's a very difficult port to approach. It requires a lot of calculations and a lot of expertise to bring the vessel alongside.
From the bridge, Captain Somnath relies on the latest technology to keep the Vale Brazil on track. And unlike ships from the past, you'll find no mechanical links here between the bridge and the engine or the rudder.
This is where the vessel is steered. There's no physical connections from here to the radar. It's all done electronically. It's the most advanced system. Okay, sir, I'll turn to port side.
To complete a successful docking, Captain Somnath will depend on this high-tech precision control. As it approaches port, the Vale Brazil needs at least 30 meters of depth. Any delay or deviation from course, and she might run aground, risking the lives of the crew, an environmental disaster, and damage costing tens of millions.
Pilot, this is Vale Brazil. Go ahead, sir.
Fortunately for Captain Somnath, he can enlist the aid of the man who knows these waters best. Carlos Alves Figueiredo is a port pilot and has spent decades guiding ships into this treacherous harbour.
I just picked up the pilot and I have exchanged the information of the vessel to the pilot. I have informed him what is the speed and what course. It's a very sensitive moment.
But even with all their skill, Captain Somnath and Carlos still need extra help to fight the current and bring this monster into port.
Very strong, sir. Three knots. Yes, 3 knots, yeah.
Okay, steady.
Steady.
Dwarfed by the mighty iron ore carrier, 5 tugboats with a combined power of 90 trucks skillfully tow the Vale Brazil along the narrow channel.
That's slow a bit.
That's right.
They avoid the sandbanks with just meters to spare on each side.
At this moment, there is a very strong tide, and every moment we have to watch so that the vessel doesn't drift. So we have to be very, very careful. Stop engines.
Stop engine, sir.
Forward, wait. Let him take the weight first. Let aft take the weight.
It takes another 3.5 tense hours before the Vale Brazil is finally secured within its berth. And the next part of the critical operation can begin, loading. But it's a process that's far from straightforward. Although she arrived in port with her holds empty, she was carrying enough water to fill 93 Olympic swimming pools. And for good reason.
With a ship that can carry as much weight as the Vale Brazil, if you take that load out, suddenly it's much lighter and the ship wants to rise out the water. When it does that, it becomes unstable.
Keeping the ship upright in port is the responsibility of Augusto Cesar Magalhães. After 25 years in the job, he's a master of this delicate balancing act.
Quando eu estou carregando o navio na proa, né, eu estou tirando o lastro também. Então eu mantenho o navio equilibrado, né, sem fazer abicar ou derrabar o navio, né, e quebrá-lo ao mesmo tempo.
Augusto depends on a system of submarine-style ballast tanks to avoid disaster. When the holds are emptied of iron ore, the ballast tanks are flooded, weighing the ship down and stabilizing the vessel in the water. So even when empty, the Vale Brazil is still carrying over 230 million litres of seawater. But now, Augusto has to reverse the process, flushing out the ballast tanks as the iron ore begins to load. The rock is blasted with deafening ferocity from a loader 35 meters above. Below deck, her 7 holds begin to fill at more than 4 tons per second. This continues round the clock for 2 full days. Less than 50 hours after arriving in port, thanks to Augusto, the Vale Brazil is safely filled to capacity with over 11,000 trucks worth of iron ore.
Estamos agora no final do carregamento, né? Depois de 46 horas, é o nosso recorde, e estamos já finalizando. Todo o carregamento foi um sucesso.
For Captain Somnath and his crew, it's the fastest ever turnaround.
I love the ship because she's the best. She takes care of us. That's the biggest part. We take care of her. She takes care of us.
She's been in Brazilian waters for less than 3 days, and she's off again.
400,000 tons of iron ore. That's 400,000 cars worth.
Next stop for the largest iron ore carrier on the planet, Asia. So the mighty Vale Brazil has taken an early lead. But with 4 tests still to go, can it maintain the momentum? Coming up, we veer hard to starboard to find out which of our mighty ships has the edge when it comes to maneuverability. 5 mighty ships, but which will rule the waves? We're putting them to the test, rating and analysing across 5 key categories to find out which is the best of the best. Having won the rankings for length, the ocean-going colossus that is the Vale Brazil is out in front. But how will it fare when we look at our next category, manoeuvrability?
The simplest indicator of manoeuvrability is the turning circle. Just imagine in your car, how much space do you need to get it round 180 degrees?
Probably no surprise, the Vale Brazil, requiring a full kilometre of clear water and at least 15 minutes to turn.
Yes, it's cumbersome, but bear in mind that it's carrying a load that's equivalent to 1 Empire State Building plus 2 Eiffel Towers.
Next comes the Ocean Black Hawk. It needs 600 metres to turn, but when it comes to manoeuvring, the vessel's true strength is an incredible ability to stay completely still.
Even when the ship is stationary, it's still got engines working away to keep it rock steady in the water.
The intrepid MT Mastera. Compared to most oil tankers, it spins like an ice skater. Its turning circle is 555 metres.
Just think, that's only twice its length, and for an oil tanker, that's incredibly impressive.
With a turning circle of 532 metres, it's controlled by one of the world's most advanced positioning systems.
Gone are the days of simple steering and a rudder. This ship contains a battery of sensors, GPS and computer control.
Turning circle of just 165 metres, it's the S-backed Aurora.
For the job it does, this is one of the most incredibly well-equipped vessels you could ever imagine.
Our growing thirst for oil takes workers to ever more dangerous places. Ensuring their safety remains the ultimate challenge. And it's the reason for this. The Aurora patrols the icy Norwegian Sea 24/7, at the beck and call of any oil platform in trouble. Officially, she's a multi-role emergency vessel, but she's known as the Angel of the North.
Der kommer en rescuebåd.
Danish-born Michael Lauersen is her captain. Today, he'll be testing his ship and crew in a rescue drill. Just one mistake in a real-life emergency could be deadly, so there's no margin for error.
The ship is like a guardian angel, and we protect the offshore workers and the environment.
The crew's first challenge is to get to the rescue drill location, and as in any real-life emergency, nothing will stop the Aurora. This vessel was designed for speed. An inverted bow, called an X-bow, slices through waves that would batter conventional ships.
The reason for the X-bow design is that this type of vessel can proceed with high speed in high seas. For rescue operations, you need high speed. If you have casualties on board or you have to go to another position, you can proceed up to 17 knots in high seas.
Captain Lauersen has powered the Aurora to the emergency drill location. From here, the crew will have just 30 minutes to put all of the ship's emergency gadgetry to the test. The man responsible is 31-year-old Chief Officer Jonas Pedersen.
We have a lot of training on board our vessels, but we do hope that we will never have to use the training for a live situation.
First up, the man overboard drill.
Man overboard, starboard side. This is a drill, this is a drill.
Within just 90 seconds, the Aurora's 7-meter-long high-speed rescue rib is lowered from the ship's deck and charging towards the casualty.
We have a 5 minutes limit from the alarm goes on board the vessel to we have to be at the location and pick the guy up from the water.
The crew's lightning response has the casualties safely back on deck in just 4 minutes. And once on board, they're taken directly to the Aurora's state-of-the-art hospital.
That's really good. That's really good, guys.
Next up, fire drill.
To heave the pressure.
As a ship designed to tackle blazes on oil platforms, the Aurora needs to pack a mighty punch.
Keep the firefighting monitor steady.
The Aurora's 2 water cannon, or monitors, each throw out 3,600 cubic meters of water an hour. That's 1 ton per second, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool in 20 minutes. But it's the pressure that counts. The cannons can hit a target 180 meters away and reach a height of 110 meters.
That's the equivalent of a 30-story building. And when you're putting out a fire on an oil rig, that's the kind of pressure that you need.
And yet the Aurora is much more than a floating fire truck. She has the potential to prevent an environmental catastrophe. In the event of an oil spill, time is critical. But the Aurora has a secret weapon.
You can allow them to launch the FRC whenever they're ready.
This is the Aurora's 4-ton high-speed rescue and oil recovery boat, deployed from the ship's uniquely designed stern. At the helm, Jimmy Rasmussen. His job is to surround a slick, guided by the Aurora's oil-detecting radar, before the mothership sucks up the leaked oil.
The aim of this vessel is to pull 400 meters barrier out to the sea to contain the oil spill, and we can do that in a quick time. We have to contain it and put it on the ship and sail it to shore.
While cleaning up oil slicks is one challenge for Jimmy and his crew, re-engaging with the mothership is another altogether.
I have to stay focused and bounce around like the oil vessel.
Jimmy is a very good driver.
I like to hear that. Eagle is landed. Yeah.
For Captain Lauerson and the crew of the Aurora, the high-pressure test has been a success.
Okay, end of good.
Okay.
Thousands of offshore workers can rest easy, as the most sophisticated rescue boat on the planet remains on standby, ready to be deployed at just a moment's notice. After 2 tests, and despite no category wins, the MT Mastera has sneaked its way into the lead. But will it be able to stay ahead of the competition? Coming up, engine power. Each of these machines is a serious heavyweight, but which packs the biggest punch? 5 giants of the ocean, but which is the world's top massive ship? We're putting them to the test, rating and analyzing them in key categories to find out which is best of the best. The mountain-moving Vale Brazil, the ice-defying MT Mastera, the ultra-deep drill ship Ocean Blackhawk, the ready-for-anything S-backed Aurora, and blazing a trail of undersea cable, the Lewick Connector. Despite no category wins, The MT Mystera has pushed its way into an early lead. But how will it fare in our next category? It's a question of sea horsepower. Just which of our machines has the biggest engine? The fifth place, courtesy of over 9,000 horsepower, it's the S-Fact Aurora.
This ship never comes into port except for resupply and repairs. So effectively, in its lifespan, the engines of it never shut down.
The Mystera, in fourth position, are more than twice as powerful.
Yes, the Mystera is an oil tanker. It ships oil around the planet. But this thing does it extremely efficiently.
Always unwinding, but constantly working hard. The Lewick Connector, with 26,000 horsepower. In second place, not the biggest this time, the Vale Brazil. Its engines producing a still mighty 30,000 horsepower.
The weight of the Vale as a vessel is enormous. Consider then the bulk it's carrying. No wonder it's got engines several stories tall.
Packing an extraordinary 45,000 horsepower, it's the Ocean Blackhawk.
The job of the Blackhawk is to drill down into some of the most inaccessible places on Earth, in seas that could be some of the roughest places on Earth. To do that, you need immense power.
Hyundai's Ulsan Shipyard, South Korea. The largest shipyard on the planet. After 16 months of construction, the Ocean Blackhawk must depart for a multi-billion-dollar deep-water drilling expedition in 6 weeks. There's just one problem. She's nowhere near finished. Every hour she's in port and not drilling for oil could cost her owners millions of dollars. In the harbour, a dive team is preparing to install the first of 6 giant thrusters. Essential for precision manoeuvring at sea, their installation is a highly complex operation. Monitoring the diver's every move is Young Hyung Ha, a dive supervisor with 10 years experience. But no sooner has the operation begun than his team discovers a major fault. There's a gap in one of the thruster seals. It threatens a dangerous breach in the Black Hawk's watertight hull.
We have to screw by the pin. The thread is not matched.
Until a way can be found to securely seal the thruster into position, the Ocean Black Hawk will be going nowhere. Young Hyung and his dive team need to find a solution, and fast, or risk jeopardizing the launch of this industry-beating vessel. While the divers continue to resolve the issues under the hull, on deck, Jeff Sutherland, a rig superintendent with 15 years experience, is on a mission to make sure the new drilling equipment will be fully operational in time for departure.
This vessel is being equipped with some of the most state-of-the-art drilling equipment in the industry today. When you look around, you can just see how massive the equipment is.
Key to the Ocean Black Hawk's incredible drilling potential is an 18-story high tower known in the trade as a derrick. It can hold 2,000 tons, and it's essential for supporting this, one of the longest offshore drills in existence. At 12 kilometers long, it needs immense torque to penetrate the seabed below. The solution? 2 motors known as top drives, producing a total of 2,500 horsepower.
So this is a drill stem from the top drive. So it has the capability of being able to rotate in excess of 100 RPM with more than 100,000 foot-pounds of torque. Well, that power in torque is very important when you think about having to drill through shale, salt, sand, other things that capably or typically we'll see in deep water offshore drilling.
Once in position, up to 375 drill pipes can be joined together and lowered through the ship from the derrick. It takes 11 engines producing over 80,000 horsepower to handle the immense weight. And once at the seabed, the directional drill can unleash its might, locating oil deposits up to 12 kilometers below sea level. But the Ocean Black Hawk doesn't just hope to be the most capable drill ship in the world. She also aims to be one of the safest, thanks to a 6-story high blowout prevention system, or BOP. Working like a giant release valve on a pressure cooker, it seals the oil well and safeguards the ship from a potentially deadly buildup of pressure below.
So the most important thing about this system, it's a last line of defense from a well below the seabed to the guys that are working on the drill floor. The system's designed to manage 15,000 PSI. If this system fails, then we can see events similar to what happened with the Deepwater Horizon.
As Jeff continues his mission to prepare the drill kit for service, under the hull, a new seal has been fitted, and the first of 6 giant thrusters has been successfully installed by Young Hyun and his dive team.
Okay, Barbara.
And the Ocean Black Hawk takes another step towards proving herself as the world's ultimate drill ship.
We truly expect to push the envelope in the drilling industry. We've got the equipment here, gives us the possibility to break records in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's our goal. One day I'd love to have the deepest well drilled in the Gulf of Mexico.
So the Black Hawk's engines outgun the competition. But it's time to look at a new category. How do our 5 massive ships deal with the combined forces of nature? Just how tough are they? The Lewitt Connector can operate in some pretty filthy weather.
This is a ship that laid cable between Dublin and North Wales during 50-knot winds, and it took it 10 days. Now, 50-knot winds can uproot trees.
Rock-steady Ocean Black Hawk.
The Ocean Black Hawk can stay still in the water, even with waves up to 8 meters high. That's enough to cover the average house.
Vale. It can withstand virtually any storm. Its protection is its sheer size.
At 360 metres long, carrying 400,000 tonnes, it's got to be a big wave to upset this ship.
Better, not only can it withstand giant seas, it can cope with ice, 40 centimetres thick.
The Aurora exists for tough conditions. Freezing temperatures, Arctic storms. No problem for the Aurora.
Is a vessel with an extraordinary capability. The MT Mastera will happily chew its way through a ridge of ice 15 metres thick.
Traditionally, a ship of this size would need its own icebreaker to cut a path through the ice and a tug when it got to dock. But the Mastera is self-sufficient, can do all these tasks by itself.
"6:30 a.m. 12 kilometres from the coast of Finland, the MT Mastera is inbound from Estonia to the Finnish port of Porvoo.
That's the point.
Yes.
We continue like this under the right hand here.
Yeah.
For Captain Stig Sundberg, a master mariner with over 40 years' experience, this is a vital mission that must not fail.
We have no oil in Finland. And this is like an oil pipe between Russia and Finland. As you can see outside now, because the temperature is minus 25, so we must get oil in, because otherwise we will get quite cold here. During winter, the whole Gulf of Finland will be frozen, and after that it will be, we will get problems to get in and out from Finland.
The Mastera was built to carry crude oil, 100,000 tons of it, essential for the production of fuel. She's one half of a vital supply line that keeps Finland's oil refineries running. Without the Mastera and her sister ship, thousands of homes in Finland would be without heating, and the entire country would be at risk of grinding to a halt. 7:15 a.m. and the first signs of heavy ice are detected. Very few of the world's oil tankers can handle these conditions. When the sea freezes over, they get stuck, or worse. The conventional solution was to use an icebreaker to cut a path, but the Mastera was built to operate alone. So as well as a conventional bow, she's been designed with a heavy-duty ice-breaking stern.
Mastera is like a double act. It has two phases. It can travel forwards in one configuration and then it can reverse and go backwards in a different configuration.
With just 6 kilometers of the journey to complete, Captain Sundberg orders a 180-degree turn, and the crew switches to a second bridge.
We have two bridges, one for the navigation in normal conditions, and the second one is the aft bridge which we are using in ice navigation.
And from the aft bridge, Captain Sundberg unleashes the Mastera's party piece.
Yeah, now we can hear the noise of us cutting the ice. This is quite usual situation here during the winter. The ice is not going to stop this vessel. Actually, nothing is going to stop this vessel.
The Mastera's ability to power backwards through the ice means she can operate all year round in the harshest conditions. And it's made possible by the way she's propelled. Instead of a conventional propeller and rudder, the Mastera is fitted with a forward-facing azipod propulsion system, which pulls the ship through the water. When faced with ice, the fully maneuverable azipod rotates through 180 degrees to pull the ship backwards, cutting through the ice that's been weakened by the ferocity of the rotating propeller. 10 a.m. and the Mastera has beaten the ice to arrive on schedule at the port of Porvoo. But there's one job left for the man at the helm: docking.
This is not the biggest tanker in the world, but this is the most maneuverable.
With the azipod and her two bow thrusters working in harmony, Captain Sundberg eases the Mastera skillfully into the port.
I can say that we have the best steering in the world if you can use it. But if you can use it right, then it's also a really dangerous one, because we have a lot of power outward, and if you will use it wrong, then you can destroy a lot of things.
Captain Sundberg has successfully completed the docking single-handed, and in just 30 minutes. 100,000 tons of crude oil can now be unloaded from the world's most dependable oil tanker.
We have been in ridges which have been at least 50 meters, and we have went through. The vessel has never been stopped. Sometimes it will take time, but the vessel will move.
After 4 tests and 1 category win, the MT Mastera is edging ahead of the competition. But coming up, our final test of strength for our 5 contenders, and we reveal which from our shortlist is the world's top massive ship. 5 giants of the ocean. We're putting them to the test, rating and analysing them in 5 key categories to find out which is the ultimate. The ice-cool MT Mastera has carved out quite a lead, but will our final test shake everything up? It is a test of strength as we look at lifting. Each of our ships has a crane, but how much can it take? In 5th position is the SFACT Aurora.
The Aurora's got a 5-ton crane. It's there to lift its own lifeboat out the water.
With a crane twice as strong, it's the Vale Brazil.
The Vale Brazil's got 2 10-ton cranes for lifting on supplies, but it's a bulk carrier. The majority of any lifting work's done at port with the big cranes there.
At 15 tons, the crane of the mighty Mastera is half as powerful again. But it too relies on a different way of loading.
On an oil tanker, it's all about pumps. And the pumps on this ship can shift the equivalent of 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools every hour.
Not bigger when we look at the Ocean Black Hawk. Its crane can lift 180 tons.
When you're working down on the bed of the deep ocean, you're going to need incredible lifting power.
With the power to steadily lift 400 tons from the ocean bed, it's the Lewick Connector.
The Lewick Connector is pretty much a floating construction site.
The North Sea, 100 miles off the Norwegian coast, These are the North Sea oil fields, and this is the Leeuwark Connector, the world's most advanced subsea construction vessel. The man in charge of operations is Simon Melton, an offshore construction manager with 28 years' experience.
Each hour, each minute, each second has a cost, and we have to justify that cost, and we have to make sure that this ship is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's always a customer, and they're paying for the best vessel in the world, and they expect it to be working.
Simon and his crew are in a race against the clock to complete a multi-million-dollar job. They're on the final leg, replacing worn flexible oil pipes 350 meters below the surface that stretch underneath an oil platform.
10, if you stay where you are, please. 7, can you come this side of the buoy for me?
Roger that.
On deck, the crew are preparing to deploy one of the Leeuwark Connector's secret weapons. A cutting-edge remotely operated vehicle, essential for underwater operations. As the vessel holds its precise position using the very latest satellite technology, below deck, ROV supervisor Joseph Drake is in position, ready to take command of the submersible.
This is the control room. It's about as good as it gets on any ship. What you've got here is a station with 2 pilot stations that can do exactly the same thing. So you can have a pilot here flying with your co-pilot on that side. From here down is pretty much what controls the ROV. Then we've got a video suite to record and display all the data.
From the control room, the pilots will maneuver the ROVs to the seabed. They'll carefully navigate through a tight network of flexible pipes known as risers, which transport the oil from the well to the platform above. When they locate the old riser, they'll detach it and retrieve it to the surface, before a new one is lowered 350 meters from the ship and connected to the well. It's an intricate operation with little margin for error.
You can just see every single line there is a riser, so it's very important not to be damaging other existing equipment in the water. I mean, there's a lot of money and risk involved.
As the ROV moves into position to disconnect the last riser, on deck, the 270-ton replacement is readied for its descent to the seabed. Handling these kinds of loads in rough seas and with precision requires specialist equipment with unbelievable strength. The Leeuwark Connector solution? An offshore crane with the capacity to lift 400 tons and the ability to constantly adjust with the swell, a technique known as heave compensation. In choppy waters, a conventional crane will pull its load in time with the motion of the ship. With motion control, computerized hydraulics work to compensate the ship's movement in the water, keeping the load stable to within a matter of centimeters. While the crane positions the new riser for its descent, 350 meters below the ship on the ocean floor, the meticulous work of replacing the final riser is well underway.
It's a very challenging job, this. This is probably one of the most complex riser replacement projects anywhere, and that's why we've got the vessel, and that's why we're doing the job.
Inch by inch, the new riser is lowered from the ship. It's a painstaking process that continues as the day shift clocks off to grab a few hours rest, while on deck, the operation goes on.
Okay, VLS, can you pay out 1 meter a minute?
Yeah, Roger.
Thank you.
It's not until the next morning that the task nears completion. It's taken 4 weeks of round-the-clock work to get to this point, but finally, it's job done.
That looks good, guys.
The arsenal of specially designed subsea equipment can be lifted back onto the deck for the last time. It's been another successful operation, completed on schedule by the 110 highly skilled crew of the world's most sophisticated construction ship.
We've got the full package. Anything you want to do, we can hopefully do it.
5 incredible ships. 5 massive feats of engineering. To find out the ultimate massive ship, we've totaled the rankings for length, maneuverability, engine size, toughness, and lifting power. Here is the final result. It's the high-tech rescue vessel that's always ready for action, the S-Fact Aurora. The Vale Brazil, the largest bulk carrier ever built. The world's most sophisticated construction vessel, the Luick Connector. Gears up for its first deep-sea mission, the ultimate drilling machine, the Ocean Black Hawk. Coming home to steal the #1 spot, the ultimate mighty ship with a world-beating combination of size, innovation, and straightforward toughness. It's the MT Mastera. Nothing could keep it from getting where it needs to go.